to make 2 points. Number one, I have Pat Buchanan's book, and I think the mischaracterization of Pat is really rude. Pat, he basically defined contingencies for which we could have stayed out of World War II. Those contingencies obviously didn't happen. Therefore, by the time we went to war, we had to go to war, and Pat Buchanan is not in disagreement with that. Secondly, I am a Ludwig von Mises disciple, and paying off the debt has been impossible since 1913. I'm not sure if Donald Trump has any understanding of the Federal Reserve System, but evidently he doesn't.
Would you tell our audience who hasn't heard of Ludwig von Mises a little bit about why you follow him?
Well, he is basically a libertarian. Of course, he's deceased now, and he runs, or they have the Mises Institute. He's fiscally libertarian, pretty much a capitalist, and the Mises Institute does a good job of preaching about the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve System. There's a congressman down there in Texas by the name of Congressman Ron Paul, and he really covers this really well. And since 1913, when Woodrow Wilson passed the Federal Reserve Act, paying down the debt has been impossible. Currency is based off of debt. Money is debt. It's a facade. It's a sham.
Thanks very much.
Let's take your question in two parts. First of all, you're right. I've also read Mr. Buchanan's book, as has Mr. Trump. He says we could have just let Hitler take all the properties to his east, all the territories to east, and he would have left us alone. Well, first of all, what about the Jews and Catholics and Gypsies that he would have exterminated in the east? Or I guess we're supposed to say that that's okay. Secondarily, in 1936, he built a bomber called the America. He didn't do it because he liked us or admired us. He did it because as soon as he finished in the east, he intended to move west. It's unrealistic. It's Neville Chamberlain. I mean, if you believe Neville Chamberlain was right, and therefore you could just appease Hitler by letting him have Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and he'd leave you alone, that view was kind of disproved in World War II. But I think it's an accurate depiction of what Mr. Buchanan says. I've also read Human Action, as has Mr. Trump. 1913, the tax-based system only taxed the wealthy, and only taxed the wealthy until World War II. It was only in World War II when we had a mass-based tax system. The countries had enormous prosperity, but 90% of the wealth in this country is controlled by 10% of the people, many of whom, most of whom, the majority of whom have doubled their net worth in the last 2 years. So the national debt could be reduced by a one-time net worth tax on the wealthiest individuals, and at 14%, where Mr. Trump has pegged it, would, I think, go a long way towards raising the revenues necessary to pay off the national debt. That, in turn, would save you $200 billion a year, annually, in interest payments, or around that, and would allow you to take $100 billion and put it into tax relief and put another $100 billion into the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, a lot of Wall Street economists have said, well, Trump's analysis is incorrect. It wouldn't raise the $5.7 trillion necessarily. It would only raise $3. And you know, who says that the value of wealth in America is $50 trillion? All economists are guessing, folks. They're all guessing. The word assumption means no one knows. The point here is that Trump has put forward an idea, a concept, to pay down the national debt and save us those interest payments. Where's the Bradley plan? Where's the Bush plan? Where's the McCain plan? Where's the Gore plan? It doesn't really matter whether he's off by a couple billion dollars. What does matter is that there's a positive plan that, if put in place, would begin to pay down the national debt. And no other candidate that I've seen has put forward any such plan. They're all kind of tinkering around the edges. I'm also a great admirer of von Mises. It's tough to get through Human Action, but if you can do it, he is absolutely brilliant.